have a confession here. Quick side note. I didn't really get Patek Philippe in my early years as a collector.
True confession.
Yeah, I didn't quite get it.
Why?
I knew they were beautifully designed. I knew they were beautifully built. And I knew they had been around a long time. But I couldn't. There was something that was a little cold to me about a Calatrava, a little bit obvious about a Nautilus, a little maybe too old man luxury about some of the complicated stuff I'd seen, that nothing really connected with me until I went to the incredible museum in Geneva and stared at their pocket watches for hours.
Welcome back to the Collectability Podcast. This is part 2 of our conversation with James Lamdin. If you haven't listened to part 1, please go back and have a listen. You won't regret it. So let's go back to our cliffhanger. James, what is the one most overlooked category of vintage Patek Philippe collecting?
John, I would have had such a different answer a year ago. I would have said 1970s integrated bracelet, cool texture, ellipses. But those have kind of just caught on like wildfire in the last year, along with their compatriots from AP and Vacheron and Piaget, to name a few, which I'm thrilled about, by the way, because those are such cool style and nobody cared for so long. But I'm glad they've caught on. But my answer today is going to go back to probably pre-war, smaller rectangular pieces, I think. You'll know those references better than I do. I bought a few from you, and I always leaned on you when I'm shopping in that category. I think I know a bit more on the American side of that era, and I still think that value and understanding of more traditionally sized, let's call them gentleman's dress pieces, I don't think anybody knows about these.
So you think with Patek Philippe in particular, rectangular, like pre-war 1940s pieces are of interest to you personally?
Well, they are to me, but I think that they're sort of undervalued and underexplored, and that's certainly a reflection of the time that we're in. But let's draw that out for a second, which is what I have to do and frankly enjoy doing in my own business, which is what's next and where can we sort of plant the seed. If we sort of go what's popular right now, and let's look at the brands that are killing it. I mean, Cartier is hot shit.
Yes.
Today. So what's a step away from a Tank Louis? All right. What about those Tono-shaped things that are really popular, especially in avant-garde, skeletonized dials and interesting materials? Where did that all come from, right? And I think that it's a pretty straight line back through history as to where some of these classical styles come from. And although the world is beginning to move away from sports and tool watches and integrated bracelet sport luxury watches, there's a long way to go before we reach the end of stories like Patek Philippe.
That's very interesting because we're talking like now, as of the last few weeks, I've had a number of collectors, some of them high profile, some of them very low profile. Like, John, I want to start getting into 990 calibers, some of these rectangular calibers. I'm interested in Tegolinos.
I just sold a Tegolino a few weeks ago, and I was like, ha-ha.
Yes. Those were hard to sell a few months ago. And now, it's the Cartier logic. People are spending Patek Philippe money on Cartier watches right now, and there's such a disconnect and dislocation in pricing that we're seeing Piaget vintage prices and Cartier vintage prices going nuts, and they're leaving Patek Philippe in the dust.
That's right.
But there's going to be a catch up.
100%, and a reckoning. But in the last episode, you asked me what office character I was, and I made one up, but it's like Michael when he's just running around the office screaming, "It's happening! It's happening!" That's how I felt when the integrated bracelet, ellipse adjacent things happen. There it is.
We saw it.
The
happen.
moment, it's happening right now. And Tegolinos are in, folks. You heard it here. It's happening.
But I look at prices, and I'm going to throw some references like 2441, 2442s, any of these like rectangular, iconic Patek Philippe references have just been such sleepers in recent years. Oh, yeah. And only now I think there's some more interest because there's always been a resistance. Let's talk about round versus rectangular.
Sure.
There's this resistance against the round watch. Yet when we see what's happened on the modern front with Richard Mille, or what's clearly happening with Cartier today, it seems like people are ready to move away from the round watch, or rather to dip their toes in other waters. What do you think about the shape of things today?
Oh, the shape of things.
That was poetry.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Fascinating, right? I totally agree with everything you just said. I guess the question is, if we use sort of our core sports watch icons, maybe they have some sort of very stylized lug or bezel, which sort of changes the way you look at it, but they are in fact mostly round, right? If we look at a sports Rolex or a Speedmaster, they're round. They're round watches, even if they're slightly stylized beyond that. The integrated bracelet watches are usually squared off in their profiles, especially the 70s stuff that we love. I've always liked squound watches myself, things like the Hoyer Camaro or the, what is it, the 3525.
The 3525, yes.
I love that watch because it's
Squound.
It's squound. Yeah.
Never heard that term.
Yeah. I made it up. I make a lot of things up.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's totally believable. That's
Yep.
just do it with conviction. When we look at, let's look at RM for a second as perhaps the leader in the Tono-shaped watch space today. They're influencing a lot of other brands backwards. But where did they get their inspiration from? I'm going to come out and say it, Frank Mueller, who dominated the 90s collector scene with color and interesting complications and interesting materials. And then who did Frank Mueller get it from? Well, I think we know the answer.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And, and there was a huge influence on the American watches of that era as well. So I'm here for Tono. I actually bought a Tono watch for myself recently, a Frank Mueller, as you would have it, with a Color Dreams dial. And people see that on my wrist with the purple strap, and they look at me sideways, like maybe I've, something has happened to me.
Yes.
But I love it, and it's fun. It's great value, and it's a style and a case shape that I had never really explored before. And I actually bought this a couple years ago, and I've been enjoying it. But look at a Gondolo, a 5098. Incredible.
One of the most beautiful, modern Patek Philippe.
Stunning. That dial is exquisite.
It's a work of art.
It's a work of art. Or you want to bounce back to Cartier, look at the Bague Noire, right? Look at all of the Tank Louis or Santos adjacent watches, and you're going to see curves. You're going to see elongations. You're going to see curved, case backs. You're going to see very traditional lug styles with screw-in lugs, with exposed screws that are positively prehistoric looking to a lot of contemporary collectors. But there's historical precedent for that, of course.
It was all done before.
All done before.
All of it.
And I think that's I think that's where this is headed.
It's amazing to me that there's still a lack of interest in the 5020 in the world of Patek Philippe. You take this perpetual chrono in a cushion shape, the TV set.
Yeah.
And people are just not excited about it today. And I do predict this is a sleeper, I think.
The 5020.
The 5020.
Right. Okay. Noted.
I had a 5040 that I bought last week, and it's one of my favorite classic perpetuals. It's much rarer than the 3940, but once again, people aren't chasing 5040s today in the marketplace because shaped watches in the world of Patek Philippe have always played second fiddle, and I wonder if that will change.
Is there another example of that you could give me,
sure.
with a shaped watch that you think
let's talk time only. 5030.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite. It's just this beautiful Tono shape from the 1990s, applied Breguet numerals. So 5030 is a watch that I love. And one of my first Patek Philippe's was 5135, the Chronometro Gondolo annual calendar, which is a massive case. And you could pick them up still in the 20s.
Yeah.
In some cases for less than a 5035.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
But a 5035 is, I think, in its own right, kind of undervalued.
It is.
Right?
All those annual calendars.
I mean, we couldn't get enough 5146s this past year. And I mean, I'm glad to see that. I am, because I think they're smaller, they're more complicated, they're more precious metally than what's been dominating the marketplace for Patek Philippe on my end of the world for the last couple of years. I'm glad to see it's not all just the steel ones.
It's true. There's other options. So
Yeah.
in part one of our podcast, you made it clear that you're not afraid to share your opinion, and you have multiple influences that inform your collecting. So we're going to try a conversational segment now.
Okay.
Titled 5 Questions I Wish Someone Would Ask Me About Patek Philippe. But I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And then welcome to have a dialogue after. I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah, please.
Some of these are borderline controversial.
Oh, good.
And,
That's where the air is clean.
Yes. And this first one will give you an idea where this conversation is going.
Bring it.
Your true feelings on silicone parts.
I don't care.
And watches.
I don't care.
Okay.
Who cares?
Why?
Who cares? I mean, what are we looking for? A reduction in friction, right? For the endless pursuit of optimal timekeeping. Guys, look at your phone. Look at a digital clock. You're surrounded by them. Just embrace the mechanical beauty and stop freaking out about the actual, chemical composition of a component. I just don't care. I don't care if it's accurate within 5, 6, 7 seconds a day, 10 seconds a day. Depends on how old the watch is.
Of course.
Most of my watches don't keep great time because I get last in queue for the repair queue. All my clients and inventory come first. So I have a lot of neat watches that either don't run well or don't run at all that I'll get to eventually. But actual accuracy on a vintage collectible watch for me is definitely secondary or tertiary or further down. So on a new watch, with new composite materials and casing or silicone components inside or the latest version of bulletproof sapphire glass, I don't care. How does it make me feel?
If you could choose between a vintage watch that has a handmade escapement and a modern watch that has a silicone escapement that was essentially stamped, does one speak to you more than the other?
Always handmade.
Okay.
Always. If I want something to go scuba diving with, I'll get whatever that replaceable thing is. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about passion for collecting, it's always going to be the thing that was, cobbled together by a bunch of Swiss elves.
Okay.
I don't know. You're giving me a look like maybe I gave an answer you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Personally, it's like I have 2 answers. It's similar to your philosophy. With modern Patek Philippe, I really embrace what they're doing with silicone. It makes sense. They're on this ongoing evolution in history to make the most accurate mechanical timepiece. And silicone is clearly the next step in that path, in my opinion.
Okay.
But personally, I prefer something that's handmade, that's imperfect, that tells horrible time. That was made by the Swiss elves.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, captures my heart.
That's the romance.
So the world there's room for both. And I just really see that the line has been drawn between watches that are being made and designed by computers with silicone.
Yeah.
Great. That is the future. Love it. Accept it. Probably there's comparisons with supercars today in the car world. And then something that's imperfect, that has not literally, but fingerprints on it, made by the individual person that made the watch.
That's a good way to look at it, and also something that I think really speaks to me. I love cars, and you'd think that I would still have, posters of the latest hypercars up in my man cave, and I don't. I love cars with carburetors and 3 pedals, and I don't care how fast they are to 60. I get a real feeling of engagement with the machine when I'm driving something analog. I'm not resistant to the sort of continuation of development in watchmaking technology or material or the endless pursuit of accuracy. But I think progress for the sake of progress isn't progress. And so it's not that I have a thing against silicone. It's that at a certain point, are you looking for such an infinitesimal sort of, edge on your competitor that you can use in your marketing that no one can afford anyway? Which Lamborghini is fastest to, 60? I don't know. I don't care. The last Lamborghini I wanted is a Countach because it's I mean, it's horrible. I want it. That thing was built during the Malaise era by Italian elves, and you can't see out of the thing. But it's got a joie de vivre that I think, that's just, it's so compelling.
A spirit.
Yeah. And I don't think that, the latest hybrid powertrain, lifted all-wheel drive, 9,000 horsepower, color changing paint, 28-inch magnesium alloy wheel version is ever going to do. But that's me. And thank God we don't all like the same stuff. Otherwise, this would be really boring.
It would be boring.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually worn a pocket watch?
Probably in like a Halloween costume.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I love pocket watches. In fact, the first and only Patek Philippe that I owned for a long time was a pocket watch. I have a confession here. Quick side note. I didn't really get Patek Philippe in my early years as a collector.
True confession.
Yeah, I didn't quite get it.
Why?
I knew they were beautifully designed. I knew they were beautifully built. And I knew they had been around a long time. But I couldn't. There was something that was a little cold to me about a Calatrava, a little bit obvious about a Nautilus, a little maybe too old man luxury about some of the complicated stuff I'd seen, that nothing really connected with me until I went to the incredible museum in Geneva and stared at their pocket watches for hours. And that's where I saw that artistry and that hand finishing and those fingerprints on the balance, so to speak. And then I had to have a Patek pocket
So the
watch.
museum hooked you into the world of Patek Philippe.
1,000% true.
That's music to my ears.
1,000% true. So I do collect pocket watches, not with any real intent or direction other than, boy, that's really cool and wonderful to look at. But I do think that unless you are a gentleman of a certain age who dresses a very particular way and carries that sort of sprezzatura, I don't think I could pull that off unless I was doing like a steampunk cosplay kind of thing.
Got it.
Yeah. But I'd like to be that guy with a
try
monocle
wearing
and a waistcoat and a Mr. Peanut hat, and maybe like a cane sword.
While playing Monopoly? I mean,
Yeah.
you got the whole thing going
Masters
on.
of the Universe. Here it is.
See, I encourage you, go
Should drive a Duesenberg
Oh,
or Packard, actually.
Packard would be more on message. No, I encourage people, just try wearing a pocket watch out into the world. You're at a collector dinner. Everyone's like showing off their XYZ, and you're the guy that takes out the pocket watch.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a complication.
Yeah.
You're gonna win the night, and it's fun. A lot of even jeans have a watch pocket anyway, so like just go for it. So you don't have to wear a monocle.
I thought that was for prophylactics.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Just go. The Mr. Peanut analogy here is going to really take over our social media.
I'm going to get a whole new nickname out of this. Listen, I am down
Okay.
to try a pocket watch. I do have a black tie thing coming up.
There you go.
Maybe I
Perfect
just need to get a
opportunity.
little waistcoat, situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a chain.
All right.
I got to go see my chain guy.
All right. I've got 14 and 18K.
All right, I'll give you a call.
All right. What annoys you most about the world of Patek Philippe today?
I mean, aside from the collectors,
Oh, that's bad.
what's actually annoying about it it's not the brand, it's not the product, and it's sort of the culture that the collectors create around it, which is this totally asinine value proposition on hype pieces versus what actually makes Patek Philippe significant to me and probably to you. I think I'm speaking for you, but I think you'd agree.
I agree.
If you gave me a choice between a Nautilus, an Aquanaut, or a Neptune, I'm going to take the Neptune.
Oh, there you go.
How many people even know what a Neptune is?
You're in the 1% of the 1%.
Right? And it's not because it's cool. It's because it's wonderfully bizarre in a way that I think is a whole lot more on brand for what Patek has stood for, which is crafting something complicated and superlative in an artistic way. And I don't know, when the Nautilus was introduced, even that was reactive to a new marketplace.
That's fair.
I think perhaps in the historical significance of the collection, I think the Aquanaut is more culturally significant than the Nautilus. In that they sort of pioneered putting a luxury steel watch on a rubber strap and saying, this is how we do Saint-Tropez.
Yes. And it'll cost you at that point $5,900.
And that was right.
Yes.
And it's still one of the greatest watches. You know, a current collection, time only, Aquanaut it's a favorite of mine. It's a perfect watch. But again, the Neptune and things like it, or retrograde perpetuals, or other sort of 6,000 Gs. You know, it's how can you make a slightly interesting, complicated watch that no one would expect in a bizarre way. But people don't get that. And I think the Patek Philippe story to me as a collector and as a dealer does not start and end with the Calatrava, the Nautilus, and a perpetual calendar chronograph. There's so much more.
A lot more. Yes.
There's so much more to it, and it's partially the collector community. It's partially the people who are telling the stories, or maybe not telling the stories about those things. And okay, we can't all be arbiters of taste. I'm certainly not. I mean, look at me. Far be it from me to be giving fashion advice. However, I know what's bizarre and thus cool. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a counterculture thing. Maybe it's because I don't want the thing that everybody else likes. But I just think that that's what annoys me, is that the stuff that is obvious is what gets all the attention. That must annoy you too.
It does. And I was debating whether to share with you what annoys me most.
Share it.
About the world of Patek Philippe.
Come on, John, bring it.
I mean, but this could be a career.
This is a safe space. No one's listening.
The Patek Philippe police force might come in and like take me away after I say this.
They're listening right now.
I hope so.
I mean, as we're recording.
They could be. I'm like checking the cameras here.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the answer of a reference, which is a reference I can't even remember. I have to look at it again. This is what annoys me in the world of Patek Philippe. Reference 5260//335R-001, which if someone just said that to me 10 minutes ago, I'd be like, I have no clue what reference that is. This is an Aquanaut. Okay. So 2 thumbs up. It's a minute repeater.
Okay.
It's a bit of a screech for me.
Yeah.
It's set completely gem set with rainbow diamonds.
Oh, see, now I'm back in.
Really?
Yeah, why not? That's how you Saint-Tropez.
There you go. That's how you Saint-Tropez. All right, so maybe I'm gonna have to reconsider. I'm just shocked that this is where the haute horlogerie has gone in the world of Patek Philippe. Is a gem set Aquanaut minute repeater. I mean, what is it? So when you're underwater, you can engage the minute repeater and hear what the sound is?
Yeah, no one's ever going to actually wear that, aren't they? And they're just going to have it. And
they're going to have it?
That's the bragging rights.
And it's probably going to be 4 or 5 times retail on the secondary market.
Sure.
And I hope I never have one.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, it's if you go to the Patek.com site, it is just a huge video of it.
Oh, really?
Up today.
Okay.
And it's just to me, it's
and
just
it's
really
rainbow
surprising.
gem set, or it's full pave, or both?
It's everything.
All the things. It's a kitchen sink watch.
It's everything in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I get it. I know why they're doing it. But it's not a watch you could buy if you want to have it. And I don't even think it's a watch that reflects what the future of Patek Philippe, or even now Patek Philippe, is all about.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay.
Let me just parse it out for just 1 second. If this watch were a gem set Aquanaut, would it bother you as much, or is it that it's all the things with a repeater?
It's the repeater that puts me over the edge.
Okay.
A sports watch should not have a repeater.
Fair enough.
That's a gimmick to me.
Yeah.
It's
There's something that I sort of felt early on in my collecting that maybe gimmick would have been the right word to describe how I was feeling. Mm-hmm. But there seemed to be, and there still are, whole categories of watches that would throw a tourbillon into something, or throw a repeater into something, or throw whatever complication. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'm here for weird complications, alarms and quarter repeaters and things like that can be super fun. Moon phase is very whimsical and romantic, but sometimes it felt like the brands were just putting these things on to like show that they could, but they never stopped to think if they should.
That's fair.
That's my best Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park.
That was really good.
Thank
you.
It
had the intensity.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
I watch it like every day.
It's aged well.
It's perfect. The dinosaurs is CG, still good. I think John Hammond wore gay though. In that.
Yeah.
Which fits, But what's this whole thing to just say, okay, we're going to put a repeater onto an aquanaut and then gem set it and then make it unobtainium. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see why that would sort of twist your nipple the wrong way.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Final question is, if you had to trade all your worldly possessions for a Patek Philippe, which watch would that be?
I did get to wear Eric Clapton's $24.99 about a day and a half before it sold for then eye-watering 2.7.
Yes.
Something it was back in the day. That'd be cool to have.
That'd be the watch.
That'd be cool to have.
So platinum $24.99.
That feels right. Mm-hmm. But you know me, I'm still sort of looking for the right 3940. We actually asked you last time I saw you if you could only have one, would it be a 3940 or a 3970? Mm-hmm. And you told me 3940, which reaffirmed all my childhood dreams that was kind of like, to me, exactly what a Patek Philippe should be.
Yes.
35-ish millimeter yellow gold micro rotor perpetual calendar. I don't think anybody can make that watch anymore.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah. And the 3970 has more bragging rights, but the finishing is just not, it's not in league with the, anything that's come since from their competitors. And so you have to sort of be okay with it being a base Lamania built on, I suppose. Is that
I accept that as an answer.
Okay.
But if it's all your worldly possessions for a 3940,
no, it's certainly
you're going to have some leftovers, I think.
I have so much left over. Yeah, because I have many leather-bound books I could trade in.
All right, here's my bonus question. How do you think Patek Philippe will be perceived by the watch world in the year 2039?
I know why you're asking me that, because it has a very significant birthday coming up.
I'm impressed.
Yes, okay. Yes. I think that Patek Philippe as an institution is like a 1970s refrigerator. It will never die, and it will operate better than anything that's come since. And the front of that refrigerator will still be made out of actual metal, which is magnetic, instead of that shit that they're selling at Home Depot that won't even take a magnet.
It has to be magnetic.
It has to be magnetic, or amagnetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a good segue to what are you wearing today, James?
We're on a 3417. That's first series that is, I don't know, you tell me, I think it's magnificent.
Oh, that is gorgeous with the amagnetic signature.
Yeah.
Oh, we can get a close-up on that later. That is a beautiful watch.
It's a beautiful thing.
Is that yours or for sale?
That's debatable.
Let's talk after the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I've always wanted one of these too. So I think that's all to say that Patek Philippe is a cornerstone of the watch industry. It is an iconic product, but it's also an iconic institution. We know that there will be changing management or managerial styles and changing brand direction and changing design direction. But I think that despite the fact that they periodically produce a gem set rainbow repeater aquanaut, their core competencies are still second to none. And they're not going anywhere. So what I hope to see is some more stuff in yellow gold, because, God, I would love to have a Breguet Indice yellow gold 5196, please. It's not that hard. Please give it to me. But other than that, we're good.
All right. Now, I brought something to show you.
Oh.
This is from 1985.
Oh.
And I know the sound's going to pick up you going through the pages.
It's a yellow folder.
Yes.
That says,
for those of you just listening, I just handed James a 1985 general catalog.
Wow.
Patek Philippe. So you can go through and see the entire offering from 1985 from Patek Philippe. And I'd like you to just verbalize what you're seeing, what's interesting to you.
Okay.
For those time travelers out there, this is the same year New Coke came out. Same year Route 66 was wiped from the map, sadly. The color purple premieres. And Michael Jordan was Rookie of the Year.
And I was 1.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
Couldn't you have grabbed the 1984 catalog instead of the 85? We could have had this really dialed in, John.
If I was going to ask what your birthday was, and I was guessing. So, yeah, take a look. Tell us what you see.
All right, some shelfware, minor, little patina. It's got a little creasing on the low. Okay, we'll open this up here. Wow, I'm gonna smell it. That's not too weird, right?
It does have that 1985 smell.
It actually does.
It does.
It actually smells exactly like my elementary school. Okay. Okay. Good news, everyone. It's written in both French and English.
Good.
It's got
there's price guides too.
Yeah. Price of watches shown in the general catalog. That's just going to be disappointing. I'm not going to look at that. It's going to break my heart. The actual quality of this is all like laminated and really glossy film photography.
You're really going at this from a forensic point.
I am. I mean,
what are you looking at now, James?
I'm looking at lips, cufflinks, keychain. I want that keychain.
That's pretty cool.
And of course, an actual watch. They all match. They're blue. All right, look at this. 3520D. So this is like a 3119 relative. It's a hobnail bezel, Roman indice, ultra-thin Calatrava. Look at this thing. The 3553.
That looks like a watch you would have in your world.
1,000%. It's textured. We've got a bunch of beautiful ellipses. Yeah. This thing is vaguely...
That's very Cartier.
Very Cartier, and I think that would do very well today. Yeah. Okay, there's a 3796 in yellow gold. I would accept that. All right, so we've got some Calatravas. A money clip, a matching money clip.
An ellipse money clip.
For a golden ellipse. Stunning.
There's a lot of ellipse in here.
There's a lot of ellipse.
Thumb through some of the complicated
I'm moving. Okay. Oh, we got to the integrated bracelet stuff.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, 3733 with an onyx dial.
It's a hot watch.
Still want one of those. I had one lined up for myself, and our dear friend, Katie Reed.
Katie?
Spotted it on my wrist, and she goes, "Oh, what's that?" And
she's been wearing that
and
recently.
Her husband called me and said, Katie's been working in watches for however long it's been. Less than 29 years, obviously, because she'll be perpetually 29. And she has never talked about a watch before, like at home. Can I buy that from you? I was like, damn it.
There you go.
But I get to see it. All right, so we've got Nautiluses. We've got all kinds of integrated, really cool
now you're talking.
My
Pocket
God.
watches.
Oh, my God. Yeah, these are...
See, even
reference
in the mid-'80s.
844 repeater with a moon phase.
Which is one of the greatest 20th century complicated
that's
pocket watches.
Gorgeous.
Like if you look at a 3448 or 3450, it's inspired directly from the 844.
Okay, and then we've got coin watches because that was a thing. I mean, perpetual calendar repeater 880. These skeletonized things. There's your gem set. The reference 901.
True. There's a
Pave
precedent.
sapphire. Those are baguettes on that bezel.
Yes.
Good God.
So what they're making today for the wrists, they were making yesteryear.
Yeah, I think you got to just...
Oh, there's the page to stop at.
That's the one. The yellow gold 2499 and the 3450.
So this would be the last year of production of the 2499. This watch would have retailed for about $27,500 at that point in time for a 4th series 2499-100. Today, that watch, mint condition, easily $1 million. So...
Well, so basically, going back to that 2039 question. I have to do some math here, but it seems to be that there could be some watches that are in limited production today that nobody is paying attention to. That those could be the ones.
There's always a sleeper.
Oh, look. We know about these, John. We didn't even talk about that whole thing.
Let's stop on this page.
Yeah, okay.
For those of you that don't know, in the summer of 2022, Analog Shift and Collectability co-hosted the Meeting Point exhibition, which was showcasing the world's largest collection of Patek Philippe timing devices. That's how you always said it.
Yep.
Timing devices. Tell us about that summer.
It was a hot summer.
It was.
And all my youthful indulgences were bubbling to the surface.
With analog everything.
Analog everything. So this guy named John Reardon just calls me out of the blue one day in that just giddy, excitable voice and says, James, I got this cool idea. Can you talk for a minute? I said, of course, John, for you. And you told me you had you had a line on the world's largest collection of clocks and opportunity to buy some additional ones and make it even bigger and better. And said, can we partner on this thing and do something with it? And I said, yep. And then I told my boss after we bought it.
And this is true.
That's just true.
Like literally, you said yes, and within a day, you had approval that we were going to have this massive exhibition in New York.
And boy, that really went off great with, in no small part to Tanya and of course organizing all of that. And it was so cool to have that collection in our office and have so many interesting people come through to explore that. Of course, to have you there. To shed some light on these things, to learn about their history as owned by NASA and possibly government agencies for scrambling devices and hydroelectric plants and nuclear power plants and these proto-digital, so pre-digital, post-mechanical, they, as you said, really were the analog shift point. That's where everything began to change, but they weren't digital. They were mechanical electronic. And that, I think for me, that's sort of the outer edge of the development of technology that interests me and has influenced analog shifts. So it was very cool to have in the same room as an 18-something hundreds pocket watch, and then those gargantuan devices that took up the whole room.
Yes, that place was packed.
That was the moment.
And if you haven't watched the video, the Meeting Point exhibition video, please YouTube it. Just put Analog Shift Meeting Point exhibition, and you're in for a treat because you're going to hear James dropping some knowledge on the history of these electronic timing devices. You'll learn from Mr. Motherboard, which has become a cult celebrity in the electronic timekeeping world. And
he's the man.
Of course, from yours truly, too. Thank you for looking through that catalog. It's like a walk down memory lane. 1985, when you were only 1 year old.
And it smells so good. Now I want to go get a cafeteria lunch on those melamine plates.
That's true. It's all styrofoam.
Yeah, I think, what's today? Thursday, it's spaghetti day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like pizza day on Friday.
Congo bars.
Yes, those are true.
What was in a Congo?
And then your government milk that you chocolate milk, whole milk, or skim milk.
Well, I grew up in Vermont, John.
Oh,
and
you had whole milk.
When you get back from the hospital, they start feeding you Ben and Jerry's, Cabot cheese, and local dairy milk, which is why I am, in the words of my gastroenterologist, quote, the most severe case of lactose intolerance he had ever seen.
Oh,
yeah, I've had too much.
He grew up with it, literally.
Yeah.
So, before we wrap up, I have to ask, other than Patek Philippe. You only get one answer to this.
Yeah.
What watch brand should we be looking at?
Langanzuna.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know that there is another watch brand that I can say this about. I think that everything in their catalog is fantastic. I would be very happy owning I would be happy owning everything they make. Small production, exquisite finishing. Admittedly, Teutonic design language that is not for everybody, but for me, it's right on the head. Look at my garage. It's the same stuff. And values also, particularly on the secondary market. While there are certain references, as always, that have gone way up, by and large, secondhand long goods offer a pretty solid point of entry.
It's a value buy.
Yeah.
Today. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but they're not going to stay there. So all about Lange outside of Patek for sure. Yeah, big fan.
I was so sure you were going to say Doxa, and you dropped
But that's
Lange.
so obvious.
Yeah, but I was sure you were going to say Doxa.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, I am a Doxa guy.
All right.
That's true. Everybody knows that, though.
I think there's a better chance my next watch is a Doxa than a Lange, but that's okay.
Maybe I'll loan you one.
All right.
See what you think.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Instagram. Give us 3 Instagrams that we should follow that aren't yours, of course.
I mean, they're basically all about pit bull rescue, but
oh, really? No, explore that.
Well, no, I'll give you some fun things to follow.
Sure.
My friend Wesley Smith, standard_H. He has a podcast. He has a clothing brand. He's based on the West Coast, and he's kind of doing this this lifestyle culture exploring entrepreneurship, exploring the maker market, a definitive appreciation for cars and watches. And he also has a great podcast. So standard_H, and that's referencing the standard H shift pattern in a manual.
Side note, you could listen to James' podcast on Standard H.
I did do one.
And I don't think Wesley will be upset. I'm going to be on his podcast next month. I
didn't know that.
So it's big news.
Oh, good.
So
fantastic.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So
Second
one.
Another Instagram. How about this? I'll give you my Pitbull's account.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
I don't even follow that.
Yeah, well, shame on you, John.
I didn't know you had a dog.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
He's the light of my life.
What's his name?
Brody.
Brody.
Chief Brody.
Chief Brody.
Named after Roy Scheider's character in Jaws.
Nice.
And his Instagram is Chief Brody Bear Returns.
Chief Brody Bear Returns.
Yeah.
Okay.
His
I'm on it.
ex-mama got away with the first account, but that's over now, so.
Yeah. I'm looking in the studio now. Everyone's actually putting this in their phones at the moment.
And then definitely follow the Stand Up for Pits Foundation.
Okay.
For any of you who are listening and think pit bulls are killers, you've got that wrong. Chihuahuas are killers. Pit bulls want to please their masters and are often abused into doing things they should not do, but they are sweet animals, and it's something I care about very, very much. Whales and dogs, that's it. And then you should also follow, on that note, whales.org. So
Whales.org.
We're gonna do. What do we do? We did a friend who does a great podcast. We did my dog, and we did two things I care very much about, and I feel good about that.
That's true. I think it covers the range, and you're thinking about things other than watches, which is a rarity in the watch world.
It's usually watches, dogs, whales, cars, and lunch. That's basically my day.
And where does Scotch fit in?
Well, here it is, the bombshell you've all been waiting for. I've actually been sober for 53 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Not because I needed to be, but because I needed to stop treating my body like an amusement park.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I might go back to it. I might not. I feel pretty good.
I admit it was difficult working that summer at Analog Shift because you had it was a keg of, was it whiskey?
Oh yeah, we have whiskey on tap.
Yeah, on tap, all you can drink 24/7.
Well, yeah,
this is not a healthy thing.
It's for clients.
Oh, okay.
Wink, nod. Nudge.
Yeah, okay, I hear you. I had some.
No, we do work very, very closely with the Glen Rothas, and they stock our bar. We do a lot of great tasting events with them. I love their product. I just decided a year ago that as I was backsliding into my 40th year, that I wanted to clean things up a little bit, and sobriety and some effort on my part to sort of take care of my body a little bit better and my mind a little better has had some pretty positive results. So I'm sure I will drink something again, but yeah, I got nothing to add right now. I'm stone cold sober.
Well done. 53 weeks.
53
Congrats.
weeks. Thanks.
Final questions. The future of watch retail. Like, where's this all going? It's a different world. Every day we wake up to a whole new world in terms of retail. What's your futurist opinion of where retail is going?
I think brick and mortar retail is not going anywhere. And if anything, I think there are more opportunities opening up for very targeted, curated watch shops, whether it's new product, vintage product, indie product, whatever it is. Because the digital world can only get you so far, and it has pulled watch collectors together. It has given a platform to share information, share knowledge, share excitement about watches. But let's face it, this is a tactile hobby. This is a tactile thing. You want to touch and see and feel these things, and that's not something you can do online. And who wants to order a multi-$1,000 watch and see if you like it? Unless, of course, it's vintage or rare, and you can't. But for the new watch space is what I'm specifically referring to. Okay. You need to touch and feel these things and try them on the wrist and see how they work. If you're a vintage collector and you know what you're looking for, that's one thing. But if you want to try on 4 or 5 different watches and see which one's for you, you want to do that in person. So I think that while the digital space will continue to evolve, that marketplace is already crowded and confusing, and there's a lot of shady stuff going on there. As well, of course, and having a place to do that in person is always going to be a key. So I would actually see, my prediction is we'll see more multi-brand, monobrand, and specialty watch shops opening in the next 15 years than closed over the last 5 or 10.
Okay. could be right. It's an interesting insight. People just want to try these things on. And
my opinion is always there. But
yeah, it's always there.
It's worthless, but it's there.
Now, if someone's visiting New York and wants to go visit Analog Shift, is it open to the public? How do you reach out to you?
Yeah, we have product in our 3 New York showrooms. So we've got Soho on Green Street. We've got Hudson Yards location, and the opened yesterday at 1 Vanderbilt, right by Grand Central Terminal. We've got a great display in there, a beautiful new store. You can see it across the avenue. It's wonderful. There it is, Analog Shift, all green and wonderful. And then we do have our own headquarters, which is, arguably the coolest place to be with our whole, Scotch on tap thing. And a lot of watches. So yes, we would welcome by appointment visits. So just reach out to us through our website. You can email us info@analogshift.com. Shoot us a note on our Instagram, which is @analogshift, not to be confused with Chief Brody Bear Returns. But, there it is.
Chief Brody Bear.
Yeah.
That I cannot wait to
I will
put on my Instagram.
We should
How many followers does he have?
I don't know, a few hundred.
Okay.
It's not something that...
After this, he's going to have thousands.
I hope so. This is like the most important podcast in the industry.
This is true.
And arguably the world.
Yes, because if you've made it this far in this podcast, you are true believer in all things Patek Philippe.
Or your device is stuck on play and you can't shut it off.
And if you listen to it a second time, we'll be really impressed.
Yeah, there will be no repeat views to this.
Now, any closing thoughts before we part ways?
I don't know if any of your listeners know this, but John, you are an inspiration. And you are truly one of the very few good people I know in this industry who have worked at that level in an auction house. I know a lot of good people in this industry, and frankly, the people who keep me in watches is the people. But at your level, with the experience that you've had, nobody has that career in an auction house industry without getting pretty slimy. Except for you, John.
Oh,
and I knew that things were going to change when you left. And that told me all I need to know. But if you're listening, you already know that that John is a man of wisdom and worthless history factoids. But he's also just a really good guy. So thank you for being a really good guy. Thank you for your guidance, friendship, opportunities to collaborate, and for having me on this podcast.
And thank you, James, for your integrity. Congratulations for what you've built. It's a pleasure and honor to call you my friend. And
likewise,
this was the podcast I've been waiting for. And thank you for being here today.
Can we hug now? I want to.
Yes.
Okay.
But once we wrap it up.
Okay. All right.
Because first, I'd like to thank our listeners so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe so that you do not miss any future episodes. This is John Reardon for Collectability.